Hi, Stephen Moegling from Franklin Street. And last week I had the opportunity to attend the SHSMD Phoenix conference. And it's been, I think, about a decade since I began going to SHSMD, and I love the conference for the opportunity to meet new friends, see old friends, and exchange ideas, which is really what it's all about. And I love those ideas that I can take away from the conference that are really actionable, good bread and butter concepts for our healthcare clients on driving business and building brands. But I also love those ideas that are a little bit more thought-provoking, a little bit more big and open-ended that you can't quite stick in a neat peg. And there's a lot of value to that. And I feel that the two of the keynote speakers, Lance Secretan and Dan Pink, who are these phenomenal titans of business and leadership, and Dan Pink has Oprah Winfrey for a fan, and Lance Secretan has been the CEO of one of the largest corporations in the world. And so to hear both of these guys talk in their keynotes about the same topic from completely different perspectives was really, I think, very, very refreshing for me. What they talked about was this idea of what fuels our motivations and what drives us. How do we inspire others? How do we get the best out of our people? And their personalities and tone and even their backgrounds could have been any more different. Lance came out and he had this kind of Zen-like quality to him. He had a shaven head. He looked like Jean-Luc Picard from Star Trek, and him mixed with Wayne Dyer. And Dan had this, Dan Pink looked like Ben Stiller after having a little bit too much caffeine. But Dan was hilarious. And both guys really, I think, did a fantastic job of having us look differently at this idea of what fuels us, what fuels our performance and drive. And even though their perspectives were so radically different, what was interesting to me is that each of the guys came away sharing the top three things, the big three, which was the crux of both of their presentations. For Lance, that big three, the top three, came down to three words: why, be, do. Why are we here? How will I be? And what will I do? And Lance had this very soulful perspective of asking the question, why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? And then this idea of how do I be? What's my presence? What's my tone? What's my thought? And this idea of what am I going to do? How am I going to contribute back? What's the energy and the outlay of my time here on earth? Whereas Dan Pink's top three came down to, in relationship to performance and drive, this idea of autonomy, that if we want to be successful, we want to run successful organizations or have successful teammates, that autonomy is one of the top three things that people need to feel in their work. The second in that top three is this idea of mastery, that no matter what the job is, there has to be a mountain to climb. People have to feel like they're making progress and becoming better and doing more, whether it's being more efficient or tackling new things to become that master. And the third piece is purpose, that we have to feel that we're contributing to something greater, that we have to feel like we belong and that we're important in this conversation, in this business setting, obviously in this space and time that we have here on earth. And I loved being able to merge Lance's top three, the why, be, do, very inspirational minded, with Dan Pink's top three, which were very motivational driven. Lance actually came on stage on Wednesday night and began saying that his perspectives differed very greatly from Dan Pink's. He went as far as to say that inspiration, which was really the crux of Lance's conversation with us, it was centered around this idea of love, whereas motivation is really centered around the idea of fear. But after hearing Dan on Thursday morning talk about motivation and his perspective based on research that he's conducted and other research that he's yielded in developing his materials, I really felt like both Lance and Dan had a very congruent perspective. It was almost as if they were two different bands playing the same song, Strawberry Fields Forever or whatever. It's just the song sounded different, but the notes were still the same. And it really allowed me, coming away from Phoenix, to feel like I could look at a very, very big topic, a very huge thing, like what drives us and how do I help inspire others, and coming at it from a lot of different perspectives. I thought the SHSMD conference was very enriching, rewarding, and we had a blast. So if I didn't see you at SHSMD, I hope I see you next year, and I hope to see you at some of the state conferences that I'll be speaking at and attending this coming year. Thanks.